Hello there everyone, Aiden here, and all of us at Push Square are hoping you have a very happy Ragnarok day. That's right, the long-awaited sequel to the 2018 God of War. It's finally here, promising lots of awesome boss battles, emotional storytelling, and plenty of visceral combat encounters. And we should know, we gave the game a 10 out of 10 in our spoiler-free review, which you should totally check out. But today, I wanted to detail the 10 ways in which God of War Ragnarok actually improves upon what came before. And just like a review, this will be as spoiler free as possible. Of course, we're going to be alluding to features within the game, but there'll be no major story details to worry about. But anyway, my axe is frosted, my blades are toasty hot, so let's get into the 10 ways that God of War Ragnarok is actually better than God of War 2018. Okay, so first things first, we're going to have to cover some combat, because God of War has certainly attained itself a reputation due to its crunchy and addictive hack and slash gameplay. Ragnarok only goes to spice things up even further with combat traversal. In Ragnarok there is so much more verticality, and with the help of the Blades of Chaos, you'll be able to instantly snap up to ledges and even grapple hook your way across gaps and ledges. And we all know video games love a good grappling hook. But what's even better is that regardless of whether you're dropping from a ledge or swinging across a gap, you can actually combo your traversal with a slam of the Leviathan axe or the Blades of Chaos, dealing a nasty bit of damage. Not to mention, it looks pretty damn cool. So our next evolution is through the expansion of shields. In the 2018 game, you had a shield and it would allow you to block and deflect shots, regular shield stuff. But Ragnarok takes it one step further by giving you different types of shields which have different gameplay benefits. For example, some shields will gain stun damage, opening up enemies for those brutal finishers. Others will blast enemies back once they're charged, and some will even allow you to charge enemies whilst blocking all incoming shots. It's an easy one to forget amidst, all the hacking and the slashing and the slamming and the swiping, but Ragnarok shields give combat that additional personable edge, allowing you to make your gameplay style your own. Upgradeable Skills is one of my favourite new additions to the game. Across your many battles, you'll undoubtedly find some movesets that just work for you, the ones that you stick with throughout. Well, Ragnarok actually rewards you for this, as well as diversifying your moveset. The more you use a certain skill, eventually you will master it, which will allow you to upgrade that skill to include a new kind of perk, whether that be additional damage, more stun, or even increased elemental effects. Because of this, I was far more willing to mix up my skills to master them, so that I had a far more powerful build when I eventually got into the end game, where you really do need any help you can get. Enemy variety is also greatly improved in Ragnarok. You will still find yourself mowing through collections of Draugr just like the last game, but there are so many more enemies to clash your axe with, whether it be a Midgard Ravager, the Asgardian Berserkers, or the Svartalfheim Frog dudes. Having just completed the 2018 game before jumping into Ragnarok, I found that it wasn't just the enemy types though, it did a much better job of mixing up the enemy skill sets so that they would sort of clash with each other in a way that made it far more challenging for you. Like, the heavy enemies were a little faster, while the sniping ones were relentless, and some tanks utilised attacks that meant you couldn't get close. It will keep you on your toes and, more importantly, keep you entertained. It was announced some time ago that Ragnarok would allow us to explore all 9 realms, as opposed to the 6 that we got in the 2018 game. And while we won't ruin the surprise by showing you footage of all of those, just know that the game does a fantastic job of making each feel fresh and distinct. Even the ones we were able to visit in the original game feel new thanks to the frosty touch of Fimbulwinter. You'll be nipping back and forth from one realm to another, especially as you begin to delve into the side content, with each realm offering new kinds of content and linking to the previous point, realm-specific enemy types, making each realm a varying experience. So it isn't just the look of these places, although some of these are incredibly detailed. It's really hard to bring that across in this 1080p footage, but get yourself a 4K display because this looks stunning. Okay, so I said Upgradeable Skills was my favourite addition to this game, but let's be real. Streamlined realm travel is really where it's at. Thanks to the handiwork of Brock and Sindri in the opening hours of the game, rather than having to travel to Tyr's temple and the realm travel room to get from one realm to another, Ragnarok just takes all of that hassle away with mythic gateways. Now these gateways were featured in the last game and used to fast travel between other doors within that realm. That feature still remains, however. Now any mythic gateway can be used to travel to any realm. It is so much more streamlined, it makes combing through side content hassle free. And I love some streamlining in game design. As if streamlined realm travel wasn't enough though, Ragnarok also introduces sleighs into the game. For some of the larger explorable areas such as Midgard or Alfheim, you'll be able to whisk along at great speeds, allowing the game to feel much grander in scale, whilst maintaining an accessible level of size. It's certainly a marked improvement from the back and forth running that featured in the previous game, and of course, it's still home to Mimir's many tales, making for some really nice downtime in between all of the drama and the merciless killing. Acting as the conclusion to the Norse saga, God of War Ragnarok is not scared to feature some pretty big players within the mythos. The 2018 game loved to tease out the presence of characters like Thor or Odin without ever actually showing them, save for a post-credit scene. However, in Ragnarok, we're getting in the thick of it with some of these characters, which only goes to bolster the epic scale of this game. What I personally loved about the inclusion of these characters was just seeing how Santa Monica would portray them, especially since so much of our exposure to these characters within Norse mythology is MCU based. I know that's terrible, a really bad thing to say, but trust me when I say that this is better in almost every way. Across your travels in the 2018 game, you made some acquaintances such as Brock, Sindri, Mimir and Freya. Now of course things didn't quite work out too well with the latter, but each of these characters and their relationships with Kratos and Atreus feel so much more evolved from what we had in the last game. Whether that be Kratos and Mimir's brotherly relationship, or the pain you can feel in Freya's voice as she guns it for revenge. One scene later in the game where Brock, Sindri, Mimir, Kratos and Atreus sit down for dinner really hammers home that this is a odd ragtag family. Side characters play a much bigger and more involved role in the sequel in a way that just adds to the richness of the world. And lastly, we have boss fights. Now, I didn't have any issue with the bosses in the last game, but I know a lot of you did. Regardless, however, of how you felt before, Ragnarok is an undeniable improvement. From mini bosses to optional bosses to the story bosses, these are impressively epic. And that doesn't always mean just the scale, I'm talking the mechanics at play, the design of the bosses themselves. Let me tell you, there are some endgame bosses in here that I spent hours on. Now, yes, that may be a bit of a judgment on my skill, but they were the kind of fights that had you strategizing and heading into the menus to see how you could maximize your damage output and utilize every perk and skill available. Mixed in with a far better variety of bosses and the expansion of combat, the boss fights in God of War Ragnarok are truly superb. And those are all the ways in which God of War Ragnarok improves upon what came before. Now let me know which of these is your favourite improvement once you've experienced them in the game, and as always, if you're looking for more God of War content and any other kind of content within the world of PlayStation, then consider subscribing to us here on Push Square. Anyway guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.